U.S.-Nigeria tensions deepen over religious freedom rise.
Warning. The following video podcast you're about to watch may contain scenes that could be too graphic and intense for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
The upcoming video podcast is brought to you by New Media TV in London. Your host is Frank Bello.
Let's get started.
USA military threats. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria versus President Donald Trump of the United States of America. October 2025 paradigm shift. Trump instructs the military to prepare for action against Islamist militants in Nigeria. Background to the story. The US President Donald Trump has ordered the military to prepare for action in Nigeria to combat Islamist militant groups, accusing the government of failing to protect Christians. Trump did not specify which killings he was referring to, but allegations of a genocide against Nigeria's Christians have been circulating in recent weeks, months, and years within some right-wing US circles. Organizations monitoring violence state there is no evidence to suggest Christians are being killed more than Muslims in Nigeria, which is approximately evenly divided between followers of the two religions. Rewind. Frank Bello and the team at New Media TV in London, on numerous occasions, have documented these brutal killings since 2014. An advisor to Nigeria's president told media outlets that any military action against the jihadist groups should be undertaken collectively. Daniel Bola said Nigeria would welcome US assistance in tackling the Islamist insurgents, but emphasized that Nigeria was a sovereign nation. He also mentioned that the jihadists were not targeting members of a specific religion and that they had killed people of all faiths, or none. Conversely, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has asserted that the country maintains religious tolerance and stated that security issues are impacting people across faiths and regions. Nevertheless, Trump posted on social media that he had directed the US Department of War to prepare for possible action against Nigeria. Trump reaffirmed that his country could send troops to Nigeria or launch airstrikes to halt the alleged killings. They're killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria. They're killing the Christians and killing them in huge numbers. We're not going to allow that to happen, the US president said. In the same post, he warned that he might send the military into Nigeria, guns a-blazing, unless the Nigerian government intervened, and declared that all aid to what he called the now disgraced country would be severed. Trump said, "If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians." US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth then responded to the post by writing, "Yes, sir, the Department of War is preparing for action. Either the Nigerian government protects Christians, or we will kill the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities." Trump's threat sparked alarm across Nigeria. Many on social media urged the government to intensify its fight against Islamist groups to prevent a situation where foreign troops are sent into the country. Recall that in 2018, 7 years ago, during his first term in office, Donald Trump described African countries as shithole.
Analysis. With Trump's threats of military intervention in Nigeria, Tinubu faces a delicate balancing act. US-Nigeria relations have taken a sharp turn in recent days, highlighting the growing divide between Abuja and Washington. On 31st October 2025, US President Donald Trump announced the redesignation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, CPC, due to serious violations of religious freedom. The following day, in a social media post, Trump threatened military action against Nigeria, as well as a complete cessation of US aid if Tinubu's government continues to allow the killing of Christians. For Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the threat and designation of military intervention could not have arrived at a more politically sensitive moment. With a population of over 230 million, Nigeria continues to face inflation, a declining currency, and widespread poverty despite recent reforms. With the CPC designation, Washington questions the government's capacity to safeguard its citizens from religiously motivated violence. The situation necessitates that Nigeria adopt a more coherent diplomatic stance towards the United States. Nigeria, US, a partnership based on shared interests. The US. Nigeria relationship has historically been one of pragmatic partnership. The United States is Nigeria's largest foreign investor, with US investments concentrated in oil and gas, wholesale trade, and services. Bilateral trade surpassed $13 billion in 2024, and Nigeria ranks among the top African markets for US exports. Washington also provides strategic security support, including military training, counter-terrorism assistance, and limited arms sales to help Nigeria confront groups such as Boko Haram and the Islamic State West Africa province, while also addressing piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. Nigeria, in turn, remains a strategic partner for US interests in West Africa, which faces overlapping crises of extremism, migration, and democratic backsliding. Under Tinubu, however, the relationship appears to be drifting, not through open hostility, but mutual disengagement.
The diplomatic drift. Since President Bola Tinubu's inauguration in May 2023, Tinubu has not travelled to Washington and allowed a diplomatic vacuum to fester. In September 2023, Tinubu recalled all Nigerian ambassadors worldwide and has yet to appoint permanent replacements. What's more, he was conspicuously absent from Trump's meeting in July with West African leaders. Tinubu's distance from the White House may also reflect political caution on his part, following renewed reporting on his past in the United States, including his connection to a federal criminal case, and questions about his academic records. Although Tinubu appointed a handful of consuls general and chargés d'affaires, including in Washington, earlier this year, Nigerian foreign policy experts note that these temporary measures fall far short of the representation expected of a country of Nigeria's stature, and reports have detailed the poor state of Nigerian diplomatic missions. Officials in Abuja cite financial constraints as the reason for the delay in appointing ambassadors. Amid the dispute with the United States, Tinubu is now reportedly finalizing a list of ambassador nominees. Tentative diplomacy. Tinubu's contacts with the Trump administration appear to be limited. In April in Paris, he met for the first time with Masad Boulos, Trump's senior advisor for Africa and a citizen of Nigeria, among other countries. While that encounter signaled a tentative opening, there is no indication of any ongoing back-channel relationship. Boulos himself recently stirred debate in Nigeria when he remarked publicly that it is not only Christians who are victims of violence in Nigeria. The comment diverged from claims made by Christian advocacy groups that a genocide against Christians is taking place in Nigeria, a claim that resonates with segments of Trump's political base. Boulos's attempt to bring some nuance to the conversation appears to have done little to shift Washington's broader perception that Abuja has not done enough to contain extremist violence or to demonstrate accountability for religiously targeted attacks. But even before the religious freedom debate, there was friction on other fronts. Earlier in July, Nigeria's government vowed to resist pressure from the Trump administration to accept deportees from Venezuela and other third countries.
What the CPC designation signifies for Nigeria. Being named a country of particular concern, CPC, is not merely symbolic. Under the International Religious Freedom Act of 1998, IRFA, a country is classified among states that have engaged in or tolerated particularly severe violations of religious freedom. It can trigger diplomatic censure and, in some cases, targeted sanctions or aid restrictions, unless the president grants a waiver for national security reasons. Nigeria was first listed on the CPC register in 2020, during the first term of Donald Trump's administration, when a dubious fake latex silicone image of Muhammadu Buhari circulated. To recap, in 2015, under President Goodluck Jonathan's leadership, Buhari also stated that an attack on Boko Haram was an attack on northern Nigeria. However, it was removed in 2021 by the Biden administration ahead of then Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Nigeria. The decision faced sharp criticism from the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, USCRRF, an independent body established by the IRFA. Last month, in September 2025, U.S. Senator Ted Cruz introduced a bill calling for the redesignation of Nigeria on the CPC list and the imposition of sanctions, including measures against Nigerian officials who implement or support blasphemy and Sharia laws. The redesignation thus reflects a policy reversal and serves as a warning that Washington expects progress on religious freedom protections. Further consequences may ensue if this expectation is not fulfilled. Nigeria finds itself at a crossroads. Tinubu, himself a Muslim, faces a delicate balancing act in a country roughly evenly divided between Muslims and Christians. Ahead of the 2023 presidential election, his choice of a Muslim vice presidential running mate from Nigeria's northeast Borno state drew opposition from voters who considered the move at odds with Nigeria's religious diversity. While his administration has vigorously rejected the notion of a Christian genocide in Nigeria, arguing that this framing does not reflect the actual situation in the country, terrorist organizations have targeted churches, with a notable example being the Orwa massacre on the 5th of June 2022, a mass shooting and bomb attack at a Catholic church in the city of Orwa in Ondo State, Nigeria. At least 40 people were killed. Clergy have been kidnapped and massacred in Christian farming communities. Washington's renewed CPC designation challenges Nigeria's leadership to confront Christian-targeted extremist violence more decisively. For Tinubu, who has already secured his party's endorsement for re-election in 2027, his approach to this issue will shape his foreign policy credibility and political legacy. Domestically, as a politician from Nigeria's predominantly Christian south, he must avoid alienating Nigeria's predominantly Muslim north or fostering perceptions of Western bias in framing the country's security crisis. Internationally, he must reassure allies that his government is committed to defending pluralism and prosecuting those responsible for faith-based atrocities. The cost of inaction could be severe.
The task ahead is immense. We are engaging the world diplomatically. And we assure all of you that we will, defeat terrorism in this country.
This woman wails, "Please come and help us. Don't leave us. We have not eaten. Please help us. Where is the president? Where is the governor?" She cries over the plight of at least 287 students who went to school in Nigeria on Thursday and were abducted. Authorities say gunmen surrounded a state-run school just as the children were about to start their studies for the day. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has sent in the nation's military to search for and hopefully rescue the children. He said nothing else is acceptable than to return the students to their families. No group has claimed responsibility for the mass kidnapping yet. In 2014, an extremist organization called Boko Haram took 275 girls from their school's dormitory. 10 years later, at least 100 of those children are still missing.
New Media TV. Live stream with confidence. On our social media platforms, we connect you globally with unfiltered geopolitical media content, where topics such as global politics, identity, culture, social cohesion, integration, conflict and resolution are discussed digitally without bias, reaching a worldwide audience. We simplify it by nourishing your inner mind and uplifting your spirit. Your host is Franco Lubello in London. If you enjoy this video podcast or any of our live streams, please remember to like, follow, share, and subscribe to our channels on Facebook and YouTube. Tap the notification bell to be alerted when we post new videos or live streams. Your engagement and interaction are our most significant rewards. They help us build a stronger community. Think differently. Think beyond the headlines. Let's carry on.
Nigeria's CPC status could complicate security cooperation, including military training and intelligence sharing, and add to concerns over the foreign investment environment unless Abuja demonstrates measurable improvements. More profoundly, the designation reveals the fragility of Nigeria's social contract. When Nigeria gained independence in 1960, its founders envisioned a nation where ethnic and religious diversity would coexist harmoniously. Decades later, 65 years after independence from the United Kingdom, increasing religious and ethnic polarization endangers that vision, with each region calling for secession. Unless the Tinubu administration addresses corruption, poverty, and insecurity, any diplomatic fallout will be secondary to the domestic disintegration already in progress.
A way ahead, restoring confidence will demand tangible actions. Tinubu should 1. Reset, reconfigure, or restructure Nigeria to match its 1960 and 1963 regional formations, with complete dissolution of central authority over each region in the federating unit. Each region manages its own resources and remits its taxes to the central government. 2. Reassert Nigeria's diplomatic presence in Washington. Nigeria, as the world's largest black democracy, should project the diplomatic stature befitting its status on the world stage. The absence of strong diplomatic representation has left Nigeria increasingly vulnerable in Washington. The new US tariff policy has severely affected the country and could face further repercussions if the Trump administration expands its travel ban. This diplomatic gap is especially notable, given that Nigeria is the most common country of origin for African immigrants to the United States, as well as for those of African descent. Restoring a full ambassadorial presence in Washington can help send a message that Abuja has the will and resources to revitalize US-Nigeria relations. A credible diplomat with bipartisan connections in Washington could help reset the tone of engagement and rebuild trust. 3. Open Nigeria's doors to transparency and external scrutiny. It is not enough for the government to dismiss claims of a Christian genocide. Nigeria must foster an environment of openness that enables external observers to verify the facts firsthand. This should include inviting assessments by USCIRF or multilateral partners such as the United Nations or the African Union, alongside greater access for journalists, civil society organizations, and independent researchers. 4. Reinstate accountability in Nigeria's fight against sectarian violence. Many Nigerians have become used to government complacency and the impunity that has marked violence in parts of Nigeria. Abuja's credibility, both domestically and internationally, relies on tangible consequences for perpetrators of sectarian violence, regardless of faith or region, and on safeguarding witnesses who can testify to atrocities. This begins with increased funding for security forces. Nigeria's efforts against insecurity may remain ineffective if its police force remains underfunded and ranks among the lowest worldwide in terms of capacity and morale. The government must also tackle rising concerns that former Boko Haram fighters and other defectors are bypassing rehabilitation and reintegrating directly into local communities, compensating victims, whether Christians or Muslims, and empowering them to rebuild and resettle could further demonstrate that the state values every Nigerian life equally.
5. Prioritize the welfare of Nigerians and address the root causes of violence. Nigeria's minimum wage is 70,000 naira, approximately $48 per month, one of the lowest in Africa. Meanwhile, legislators are among the highest paid globally, earning between $150,000 and $190,000 annually. There has been a recent push for increased pay. This disparity highlights a failure to align the cost of governance with the realities faced by most citizens. Long-term security depends on tackling the root causes of instability, including poverty, youth unemployment, and social exclusion. With 80 million Nigerian youths unemployed, the government must expand education, create jobs, and promote rural development, especially in conflict-prone areas. Prioritizing these domestic investments would demonstrate a commitment to reform and help improve Nigeria's global image, from one that merely manages crises to one that builds resilience. The following slides again highlight the widespread Christian genocide and killings in Nigeria. Please share and distribute it so it reaches the appropriate audiences worldwide.
that he is in good health and in a safe place, and denies assertions by governments in the region who are already talking about the defeat of Boko Haram. We are sending you this message with the operations we have carried out with the help of Allah. We have conducted the attacks on Maiduguri, Gamboru, and Damboa, and we claim all these attacks. Nigerian troops, the police, and those who cause us misdeeds cannot do anything against us, and you will gain nothing. No one returns to Allah until he is dead. Suicide attacks, raids on villages, towns, and military posts have multiplied in the last 2 months. In early December, the jihadist group attacked an army checkpoint in Damboa, killing at least 4 people and injuring 12 others.
That's all for now. If you have enjoyed this video presentation and any of our live streams, please remember to like, share, follow us, and subscribe to our channels on Facebook and YouTube. Turn on notifications to be alerted when we post a new video or host a live stream. Your engagement and interaction are the most significant rewards for us. They help us build a stronger community by creating content that nourishes souls. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video. New Media TV.